I want to welcome everybody to who came out to this Sherburne County and State Political Candidate Forum tonight. And for those who are tonight and later on viewing this on TV. My name is John Holton, and I'm the CEO of First Bank Elk River, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors for the Elk River Chamber of Commerce. I also want to welcome Gloria from the Executive Director for the Big Lake Chamber, and we have Deb Ryberg down here from the Elk River Chamber. And there's probably someone else I should be. Amity from Becker. And I apologize, I can't see because of the lights, so you can, there we go. Thank you. This forum is jointly sponsored by the Becker Area Chamber of Commerce, the Big Lake Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Elk River Chamber of Commerce. At this time, to open up, I'd like to ask you all to stand, and we're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance before we begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight we're going to be hearing from candidates running for 4 Sherburne County Commissioner districts, the Sherburne County Auditor Treasurer candidates, which will begin at 7:15, and the State Rep District 27A and State Senate 27, which should begin in the vicinity of 8 p.m., might be a little later depending on how carefully I can keep our time schedule going. The candidates will be addressing questions on a variety of issues that affect our communities. I'm truly appreciative of all of our candidates for being willing to share their gifts in public service. It is our hope that their statements and responses will help you as a voter to make an informed decision in this upcoming election, Tuesday, November 8th. I'm going to go over the process and the rules. And this is the part that affects everybody in the room, so please pay attention to this. Candidates are seated in random order, and they will answer questions on a rotating order basis. We'll ask each candidate to move the microphone close to them when they're speaking. They're sharing microphones, so please make sure you get the mic close to you when you're speaking, and if necessary, I will remind you of that if the room can't hear. Tonight, we have Scott Driscoll of Driscoll Accounting and Tim Trubenbach of the Big Lake School as timers that are in the front row, right down here. They will be using a stopwatch to time each response. They're going to hold up a card, which all of you can probably see, but especially important for candidates to see, at 1 minute remaining, 30 seconds remaining, 15 seconds remaining, and ultimately a time up stop. If you see the time up stop, please, as a courtesy to all of the candidates, that's when you have to stop. Additional questions asked will be taken from written questions submitted from the audience, questions previously submitted by citizens before the forum, and the chamber members and staff. Forum attendees are asked to only submit questions that address a specific issue, but not a specific candidate. If an audience member has a question during the forum, you can write it down on the designated form and hold it up for one of our high school students or runners to collect. Have we got runners in the room? Okay. The students also have extra forms and pens that you can use too. All questions will be reviewed by members of the Chamber of Commerce, volunteers, and our staff before being asked. During introductions, I will introduce the candidates using their full name. After the initial introduction, candidates will be addressed using just the candidate's first name. If a candidate is personally identified by his or her opponent in their answer, that candidate will be given an extra 30 seconds to respond. That clear? That makes sense? Okay. The forum is being videotaped and recorded by Sherburne Right Cable Commission and will air on the City of Big Lake Cable Channel, Channel 180, and is available for viewing from the Becker, Big Lake, and Elk River Area Chamber of Commerce websites. Anyone have questions on all those rules? Okay, I'm going to ask In order for this to run smoothly, please hold any applause or other reactions until the end of the forum. If this gets interrupted during questioning, we'll simply run out of time to ask all the questions that we have. So please, yes. Websites for the chambers. elkriverchamber.org, biglakechamber.com, and beckerchamber.com. Thank you. So please, audience, hold your comments, hold your applause. We need this to run as smoothly as we can, and do your very best to be polite, and let's not disrupt the candidates. This is about hearing from them and about learning best candidates that you might like to vote for. Okay. Last thing before we start, I want to thank all of you for being here, and let's take one quick opportunity to break the rules I just said, and let's give everybody a hand for being willing to do this. All right, I will now introduce our candidates. In District 1, we have Andrew Hulse and Barb Brandt. In District 2, we have Paul Thanberg and Rayanne Danielowski. In District 3, we have Mark Swanson and Greg Felber. And in District 4, we have Jerome, but we're going to call him Lefty. Is it Kleiss or Cleese? Kleiss. And Gary Gray.
There may be some issues with the sound because you may not have known, but the brand new sound monitor thing did not work initially. It was working fine on Thursday, and then when we came tonight, we had some difficulty. So the guys did a great job putting in the old system, getting it to work so that at least we can have some kind of recording for hopefully later this week.
All right, here's question number 2. It has to do with agricultural land. There is increasing demand to rezone agricultural land for energy purposes, such as solar energy production or other economic development uses. For the next 1 minute, should there be a limit placed on repurposing ag land? Why or why not? I'm going to read the question again. It's more complicated than the first one. There is increasing demand to rezone agricultural land for energy purposes such as solar energy production or other economic development uses. For the next minute, should there be a limit placed on repurposing ag land? Why or why not? Let's start with District 2, and we're going to let Rayanne take the first crack at it.
Thank you.
All right. In regards to repurposing agricultural land for energy production and myself having a small family farm in southern Minnesota, I understand the desire to get the best return on one's land. I also understand the concerns that are being raised in using our agricultural land for energy production while being able to sustain our food needs, as well as the concerns over the decommissioning of these solar panels and their impact on our environment. The Planning Commission works with each landowner's request to ensure that their property rights are being upheld and to lease their property to companies. The Planning Commission puts a list of conditions on those approvals, including an escrow amount of $100,000 per megawatt for the eventual decommissioning of the solar farm. Planning and zoning continues to improve the process to provide as much safeguard as possible for the landowner and the taxpayers of Sherburne County. And also in Minnesota.
And that is time. Thank you. Paul, you have the next response.
At this time, I am against taking farmland to put up solar farms, solar, wind. The technology is not there yet. It will be changing in another 10 years, and I think then it would probably be time to reassess it. Using good farmland, and people are going to go hungry this year. They say millions of people might be starving because lack of fertilizer, lack of water. We need to focus on feeding people. There is good land, and it'd be controversial, but we have hundreds of acres up in the wildlife refuge that would be great for a solar farm. The sandbirds would like it. And I would challenge that to be used, and it wouldn't displace anybody or any food. Thanks.
All right, let's go to District 3. And we're going to let Greg answer this one first.
A bunch of us up here attended the Save Our Sherco rally last weekend, so I'm sure that other candidates are going to actually address the amount of land it would take to do the type of solar panel structures that would be required to replace the Sherco plants. What I want to talk about just a little bit is actually solar panel production and why that makes sense for limiting the amount of farmland that we use for solar farms. In China is currently producing 80% of the world's solar panels, and it's probably going to increase to 95% as they increase their market share. China's coal capacity, however, was over 10,000 megawatts, and they're increasing it at a rate that is 23% of our U.S. total of 212 megawatts. With corn and soybean levels this year actually being below projections, it simply doesn't make sense for us to put a lot of farmland into it, so we definitely need to limit the amount of farmland that we put into solar and wind production. Thank you.
Mark.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a balancing act too. I am not a farmer. I don't profess to know what they should do with their land. I think there's a certain amount of freedom that they should have with their land. I think we have to also though balance that with the understanding of we can't have the negative impact that we've been talking about on food production, on the land itself, what it costs to reclaim this land back into agriculture. This can't be done just unilaterally. It has to have a balance. And I think the Sherburne County Board has a role in understanding what the issue is and striking that balance so that it can be done well and use other ways to use the land, like the Sherburne County Refuge or other areas that are open areas that could have solar panels. Thank you.
All right, thank you. District 4, Gary.
I don't think the word repurposing is the correct word. The agricultural community modifies how they generate revenue on their land every year in regards to the crops they grow and the process they use doing that. And it's just another way for them to diversify their revenue stream by exercising their landowner rights. What they do, grow or develop on their land is their choice as long as it's a permitted use, which solar is permitted in Sherburne County. Where they do, you draw the line as far as regulating use when you allow small energy developments, but now questioning landowners' ability to develop utility grade developments on their property.
Lefty.
As far as putting our ag land into solar production, I am totally against it. There's a place for everything, and I still believe not giving up our productive cropland for solar energy is the answer. Energy is one of our most important issues that we face here in Sherburne County. Not only is it a huge tax base, but we need to ensure that we're providing our citizens with affordable and reliable energy. We need to look at all options and keep in mind that protecting our environment at the same time. We're not California. Middle of January, we can't go 2 days with a blackout. We're going to have frozen water pipes, and it's just going to be a huge dominoes effect from there. So we got to ensure that our residents are safe during those times and that we're doing this in a manner, once again, that is affordable and is not subsidized by the taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. District 4, let's go all the way down District 1. And Barb, this question is for you first.
One milliwatt or megawatt or less. And so there is a process that planning and zoning uses, and there are requirements that they have to meet if they are expecting approval from planning and zoning, and they recommend that then it comes before the board of commissioners. And we have over the years advocated for an increased amount in covering for costs if there is a decommissioning as required, so that we are sure that the amount of money that's set aside at the time that the land is put into use for this purpose is enough to cover any problems that may arise, but of course they may not arise also. So we know that solar can be an option for farmers. We have not experienced.
Thank you, Barb. I have to call time on you, and the question now goes to Andrew.
Thank you very much. There's two competing issues on this. One, as mentioned earlier, is there is a land rights issue around being able to utilize your land. But one thing that's not being addressed on this issue as far as the solar farms is the amount of land it takes. It's a very inefficient use of land. In order to produce 1 megawatt of energy, it requires about 10 acres of land. If we wanted to replace Sherburne, and Sherburne's going to be shut down by Xcel, that's 2,000 megawatts. We would need, at design capacity, we would need 20,000 acres in order to replace that. That's 20% of the ag land in Sherburne County. However, we can't produce energy at that level. There's an efficiency factor applied to the latitude that you're in. So the efficiency level for solar in Sherburne County is actually 17.5%, which means we would nearly have to use all the agricultural land in Sherburne County converted to solar to replace Sherburne, and that's simply not feasible.
Thank you, Andrew. Let's go to the next question. We worked on that question. This is an economic development question. 1 minute to answer. What economic development issues should the county be involved with to attract business and industry growth? What economic development issues should the county be involved with to attract business and industry growth? Let's start with District 3, and let's have Mark take this one.
So I think it is important that the county and the county commissioners and board set the example of drawing economic development to our area. We need that as a continued tax base. We need that for the people to work at. I spend a lot of time in the car driving back and forth to cities. If there was more economic development here, more businesses, we wouldn't have to do that. We wouldn't be spending all of that time on the roads. And I think that's important, that we make sure that we have the right tax policies, we have the right power base, we have the right ability to be able to use the land. And frankly, we need to build more houses so we can have those people come out here to support those businesses. So I think that's the really important reasons that Sherburne County needs to be involved with this. Thank you.
Okay, Greg, your question.
Sherburne County we need to have outreach in order to attract businesses to our area. We currently have the Sherburne County Business Lab, which is on the website, which is a good tool for businesses that are trying to start up out here. And a specific type of business that I think we should be trying to attract is we should work on our planning and zoning to remove restrictions and create more opportunities for small home-based and cottage industries that will integrate extremely well with the massive growth of the stay-at-home work environment that has happened since the pandemic. In this post-pandemic era, a lot of people are staying at home and working from home. These types of businesses would benefit both the people who stay home and the people who start those businesses. Another component is that Sherburne County's webpage says keeping agriculture a leading industry in Sherburne County while supporting and enhancing county and local efforts to preserve and protect critical farmland. I agree with that. We need to also focus on making sure that agriculture is a big part of our industry in the future. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to District 4, and Lefty, the question is yours.
Okay, first of all, we need to take care of the businesses that we already have. We got to make sure that they're happy and do whatever it takes to keep them from leaving our county. And when other businesses are watching how successful they are, that'll entice them to relocate to our county, which will bring a lot of jobs, bring families out here to live in our area, and actually keep our tax base low where it should be. So I would definitely focus on retaining our current businesses, and that'll help bring in our new businesses. Thank you.
Greg, or excuse me, Gary, same question.
Economic development is always having and always will be a key topic when it pertains to growth of the county. We need to partner with the private sector to continue to pursue economic development while always maintaining our rural feel. The Highway 10 corridor is a tremendous asset for such growth from Elk River to St. Cloud. We have the St. Cloud Regional Airport that has the potential to be a huge asset in attracting large and developing businesses. We need to address the scheduled closing of the Becker coal-fired power plant by working with the stakeholders, the PUC, XL Energy, and the state of Minnesota in a transparent civil manner to address that and work to resolve it in an amicable way. We have to embrace the possibility of large-scale solar development, even if we don't agree with it. Also, as an economic development, it will increase property tax revenue and provide production tax in Sherburne County and the local jurisdictions. We have to continue to support the Business Lab program that Sherburne County has implemented to provide the entrepreneurs with the tools to launch growth and their businesses when the county expanding
And
existing
that's time.
businesses.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to read the question again. What economic development issues should the county be involved with to attract business and industry growth? All the way down to Andrew, District 1.
So the key is we have to have infrastructure in place to attract it. Some of the key aspects of that are reliable and inexpensive power, as well as having a competitive tax base with those counties around us. We can't be more expensive from a tax base standpoint. One of the big challenges, we are part of the WISO electrical grid, which with the shutdown of the Sherco facility, that will reduce the load on that grid by about 2,000 megawatts. That grid already has a 1,200 megawatt deficit. So we need to address the power issue in order to attract businesses such as these server farms that are very power intensive and also require a lot of cooling in order to provide economic growth.
Thank you. Barb, same question.
I totally agree that we have to have infrastructure, and we really have worked on that, and we have gotten grant funding for the 169 corridor project and other ones. But besides that, you also have to maintain jobs, which I absolutely agree with, and then there's creation of new jobs, and then we have to have people be employed in those positions. And we work closely as a partner with our cities, townships, and other organizations to make sure that we have people to hire for those jobs, and that we have ways. When the ARPA funds came from the federal government and the state government, we used a lot of that to support local businesses so they would not go under, and that was just one way that we were able to work toward keeping businesses in our county.
Thank you. District 2. And the question is for Paul.
We have to keep the businesses we have right now. I went around and talked to a number of businesses in the county, and they're scared about this economic situation we're in. Some of the restaurants, the numbers are way down on their visitations to the restaurant, their sales, and they're scared. Prices are going up on their meat, their eggs, everything they serve, and they don't know how they're going to make it the way it's going. So we must make them succeed first. And then we have to help the little people who want home businesses succeed. Don't make it so hard to get the permits to work your own business, because when small business, small people succeed, the county succeeds.
All right. You are on cleanup.
All right, thank you. Sherburne County uses its Economic Development Authority to help recruit new businesses and expand existing businesses. We seek companies that provide not only additional tax base, but also create high-paying jobs that will allow people to live, work, and invest here in our communities. This means we emphasize manufacturing and primary sector businesses and assistance over other business sectors such as retail or tourism. Our economic development tools never reduce the current tax base, but rather seek a good return on taxpayers' investment. These tools may be in the form of loans, technical assistance, or limited tax abatement. However, we ensure our school systems will still receive new tax revenue immediately. We need to continue to support our Economic Development Authority and to work with all of our cities and townships to help them market and attract new businesses that will create jobs and help to lower the taxes.
All right, thank you, candidates. Next question is the inevitable tax policy question. Many times, especially on the campaign trail, we hear candidates for elected offices want to keep taxes low and slow the growth of government budgets. For the next minute and one half, what do you think of the current county tax policy and where does it need to go in the future? Let's start with District 4. Gary, you're up.
Tax is always a word that always be given a bad name. We have to use your tax dollars in a very responsible way. Property values have gone up over 20% last year, and projected increase this year of 10 to 15% coming cycle is not sustainable. We need to monitor this and evaluate our needs and adjust the tax rate accordingly. We need to live within our means. All county residents use the services of the county in some form or fashion. We need to make sure that those services are spending your tax dollars wisely and getting the most out of your tax dollar. Just we have tax capacity to increase your taxes doesn't mean we should. Adjust the levy for what we need to provide the services you as a resident require. The projected levy for fiscal year 2023 is just below 7%. 7% seems like a large increase, but not a lot of money is going to wage and benefit increases to retain employees, which is a challenging issue, not only in the private sector, but in the public sector as well. We do have substantial shortfall from the state of Minnesota in which they are mandating services which are not adequately funded, if at all, which is part of the increase also. We need to work with our state legislators to provide the funding for services that they are requiring. We have to watch how we spend the American Rescue Recovery Plan funds as to not recreate programs that we cannot sustain after the federal money runs out. In the economic environment, all things are costing more, including at the county level. We are not immune to that. We just need to make sure that the numbers work for every resident in Sherburne County included.
Lefty, your question.
Okay. Well, if anybody knows me, I am a miser. Very fiscally conservative. I want to make sure residents keep more money in their pockets. I'll bring conservative values to the county board, ensure that we're not spending money wastefully, and money that we do invest, I want to make sure that we do get a return on it. And with Sherco up in the air, that's a huge tax-based revenue loss if that does close down. And all we can do is to continue trying to entice new business to come in here to help with our tax base. And as I said earlier, we got to take care of the businesses that we have. I still am committed and always will be to keep Sherburne County a desirable place to live. And one reason people move out to counties and other areas is because of the low tax base. And that will be a big focus. And Sherco is going to be a huge determining factor on how everything pans out. Thank you.
All the way down to District 1. Barb, your question.
Very interesting topic to discuss. We have in Sherburne County over the last 10 years averaged a levy increase of about 2.77%, which I think is really awesome. Lately, our levy amount has been in the 4.9 something percent. That's the last couple of years. This year, you probably looked at some of the stuff that we voted on in September, and we had to set a maximum for our budget that we would not go over, but we have till December to reduce it. And so that passed was 6.99%. We have that extra amount of 2% because the state legislature wasn't able to pass some of the bills that they had, and that those bills had language in them that would have paid for some of the things that we have been doing And now this year we don't have funding for that from the government, and they're required things that we continue to do. So what we have to do now in the next couple of months is figure out where else to cut so we can trim back the levy increase to something that's more doable. But we're working hard on that, and just so you know, that is, everybody on the board wants to keep our taxes in control.
Thank you, Barb. Andrew, your question.
So this is a significant issue for folks across the county. I've walked nearly 100 miles in District 1 and talked to families in every single neighborhood. And every one of them is concerned about the property taxes. The property taxes in Sherburne County have increased 30% since 2016. And if we're going to be competitive and attract residents and attract business, we have to be competitive with our surrounding counties. Right now, and realizing that county taxes are only about 50% of your property tax bill. Right now, you can buy the same house, $400,000 house in Elk River or in Otsego. You go across the river in Otsego to Wright County, and property taxes are 25% less. That's just not competitive. I've been told by employees of Sherburne County that they had to move out of the county because they couldn't afford property taxes. These are employees paid by Sherburne County property taxes. So what we need to do is we need to be fiscally responsible. I think we need to hold our budgets flat. And as the county increases, we will then be able to spread that tax burden over a larger base, which will, on an individual household basis, will be able to bring down taxes over the next couple of years.
Thank you. District 2, Rayanne.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I'm a taxpayer too. I'm also a fiscal conservative who believes government should keep their hands out of our taxpayer pockets, except to pay for the essential services or those services that taxpayers want or expect. In Minnesota, the counties are there to provide public safety. This means law enforcement, county jail operations, court services, and county attorney services. Public works, constructing our local roads and bridges, plowing and salting in the winter, and keeping our ditches mowed and drainage ditches clear and functioning. Public health and human services, assisting our most needy neighbors and citizens, protecting our vulnerable adults and children, and promoting community and individual health and wellness. Counties are limited primarily to property taxes. We cannot collect any type of income tax, and we're only allowed to collect a 0.5 cent sales tax to help offset the cost to fund the local road and bridge construction and maintenance. Sherburne County is one of the lowest property tax rates in Minnesota on a per capita basis. We are 10th lowest out of 87 counties. We only tax for those services that we're required by the state of Minnesota to provide, and we call those mandates, which they never send enough money to do. I would encourage everybody to ask the lawmakers to not send down unfunded mandates. And I also believe that we should work on restructuring the
Thank
tax
you, Rayanne.
policy.
That's time. Question goes to Paul.
I had a gentleman come to my house today and said, my value of my house just went up $100,000. And he said, I can't pay the tax on it anymore. He's on a fixed income. What should we do? I'd say before freezing spending, freezing property taxes, let's freeze the county commissioner's salary. They make quite a bit of money for what they do, I believe, and let's start there. They voted an increase in their pay at least 3 of the last 4 years or more. And let's start there. Let's put our money where our mouth is and freeze that. And then people can't afford what they have. Why do we want a tax increase? Let's, everything you increase, you should cut. And go around and let's take a knife to this budget, or scissor, whatever you want to use, and reduce the budget. We can do it.
Thank you. Moving to District 3. And this question will be for Greg now.
I would like to be able to say that we can absolutely reduce taxes. As I've been going around door knocking and meeting people, everybody wants their taxes reduced. However, I've been sitting in on all the county commissioner meetings for several months now. I've been going to the budget workshops. Some of the problems that I'm going to talk about here, we've already been discussed. I mean, we're dealing with record inflation, record supply chain price increases. We have the unfunded mandates from the state and federal government. When they ask us to do something or require us to do something, but they don't give us the money to do it, then we have to figure out where we're going to pull that money from. So any of these tax deductions or deductions and decreases in taxes are going to require some very, very, very difficult decisions. We're going to have to look at every program in the county and try to figure out those that are really functioning, that we're really getting results from, and we may have to make cuts from others that we do in order to do that, the ones that aren't functioning as well. These aren't going to make everyone happy. You know, there's never a winner in these types of things when you have to start cutting programs. One specific program that I can think of that maybe we could make some cuts in is right now, when we rebuild our roads from the bottom up, we take an additional 17 feet of easement on both sides of the road, and we do that with funding, and we do that by just taking the land from the people. So if we put that off until such time as we absolutely need to make those roads, then we can save some money.
Thank you. And last on this question goes to Mark.
Thank you. I mean, we all, again, want our taxes to go down, ideally. I look at this from my experience in the Becker School Board. The first 5 years I was on the board, we had to make cuts every single year, and those cuts hurt. They could hurt really good programs, but those decisions had to be made in order to balance our budget, to keep us from operating into statutory debt. We can't do that. The school has also experienced unfunded mandates in special education and some other areas, and we've figured out ways to do that through a co-op plan that we have with St. Michael and Monticello, trying to figure out different ways in adding efficiency rather than cutting the programs or reducing services. So we can do this. I work in quality, in continual improvement, and this is the area that I bring a lot of expertise in to understand how we can be efficient, make our systems work better, the processes work better, and be more efficient with the money. I think that we do have opportunities to reduce our spending, and one of the areas, one of the key things, things like the wheelage tax that was supposed to go away some time ago when the 3 roads were built and didn't go away yet. These are the questions that we need to continue to ask and continue to answer as your county commissioners.
Thank you, everyone. Next question. This question is regarding the landfill. With the closure of the GRE Resource Recovery Facility in January of 19, the Elk River landfill is filling up faster than originally planned. The landfill operator is required to obtain a license from the City of Elk River to operate every 2 years. At last spring's Economic Development Forum, County Administrator Bruce Masselt spoke of the concerns about the capacity of the current landfill site, the environmental contamination issue, a lack of a cleanup plan, and the need for landfill expansion. For the next minute, what ideas do you have on this issue? This is a complicated question, so I'm going to read it again. With the closure of the GRE Resource Recovery Facility in January of 19, the Elk River landfill is filling up faster than originally planned. The landfill operator is required to obtain a license from the City of Elk River to operate every 2 years. At last spring's Economic Development Forum, County Administrator Bruce Masselt spoke of the concerns about the capacity of the current landfill site, the environmental contamination issue, a lack of cleanup plan, and the need for landfill expansion. For the next minute, what ideas do you have on this issue? We're going to go all the way down to the end and start with Andrew, District 1.
One of the challenges with the current reason why I think it's going up so quickly is, as a matter of fact, it's about 2 years down.
Fill-up plan, and that goes for all the landfills in the area, is because of the shutdown of the Great River Energy incineration plant. And that, unfortunately, that plant was, Jerry offered it to the county to purchase for $1. There are a number of economic reasons on why that was a challenge. The decision was made not to move forward with that. A couple of things that we can do right now. The landfill is not, they're not burning the methane to generate electricity. They're just simply burning it off. And so when they come back for a request to expand, I think we should send them back to the negotiating table with Elk River Utilities in order to get an agreement to generate energy with that.
Thank you, Andrew. Barb, your question.
Yes, the landfill is owned by a private party, and Elk River is, current landfill is in the city of Elk River, which obviously is part of Sherburne County, and Sherburne County, our group oversees the landfill as far as meeting standards that are required by law. We also do things like encourage recycling and so forth so that less things go to the landfill. And Andrew's correct that the more stuff is going into the landfill because Great River was full. But if they expand, they will be expanding in a different township city, and so they won't be working with the city of Elk River anymore for that property. And that is up to them to do that. And then, again, the county oversees and makes sure that things are properly.
Thank you, Barb. District 2, Paul.
I would think outside the box. We have a power plant that has 300 empty coal cars going west. We take their coal, we ship back our refuge. And it's been done already. Wyoming is taking the windmill turbines and putting them in the ground and then bringing their level back with their topsoil. They dig out the coal, we send them trash, they fill it back up, and then they bring their level back with their land that they have already scraped off the top. I don't think the Burlington Northern would object having a load going out and a load going in, and they probably would like to bring their land back up because they dig holes and all they have less is holes. They could bring the land back up and maybe make it usable.
Thank you. Rayanne.
Waste Management operates the landfill that is in Elk River and Livonia Township. The landfill, it is true, is filling up more quickly, and there is some discussion in expanding this landfill and converting the active construction and demolition cells to municipal and solid waste. I definitely think that we need to find ways to better recycle and better to try to keep as much from going into the landfill as possible. At the moment, they also have some groundwater contamination coming from some of the older landfill cells, which is currently being monitored, but has already affected some downflow private wells. Sherburne County, along with the city of Elk River, are the local responsible government units to help the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency regulate this landfill. We are working to balance the legitimate and legal business interests of those operating this landfill with also a high responsibility to protect our environment and
Thank you,
local
Rand.
communities. Thank you.
District 3, the question is to Mark.
Yeah, I think there are some innovations that can happen in this area. Again, filling up the landfill is just not a great answer. You think about the different recycling. I mean, people like to pick on things like the metal recycling plant, Northern Metals, that's in Becker. And I think that's a great example of how an industry can come to be in recycling the stuff instead of putting it in the ground somewhere. I think we need to come up with some innovations. I like the idea of sending that landfill back to fill up some of the areas, some other areas where the coal is coming from. You look at the ash piles that are in Becker and some of those pieces, and I'm not sure all of those pieces will work. But I think we need to involve the experts and get some good answers on to prevent this from happening here in Sherburne County.
Thank you. Greg, same question.
Well, at a recent commissioners meeting, I was able to listen to Terry Johnson, the Director for Waste Management Groundwater Protection. At this point in time, they are actually aggressively working to try to contain that contamination that came out earlier from the plants before they required leachate collectors at the bottom of the landfills. They do require those now. So in this amount of landfill that we're going to have to use, we're going to need some landfill no matter how good we are at recycling and do other things. So if we try to expand our new landfill into Livonia, it's going to give that community quite a bit of revenue. Elk River gets about $2 million from waste management right now, based on what I was able to find. They're testing for levels of contaminants that we weren't able to define in 1990. So any expansion into Livonia is going to require the cooperation of Livonia and possibly Zimmerman, if Zimmerman and Livonia merge into one community. But I feel it can be done safely with what I've seen from the waste management staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Question is to Lefty, District 4.
Landfills, there's always a need for them. Even though we generate a lot of money, I look back at the one in St. Cloud along I-94. I think it's been shut down for 50 years. They haven't been able to do anything with that land. All you see is pipes coming out of it. Becker, all you see is a mountain of garbage over there. Elk River is going to be a mountain of garbage. I think we need to focus more on recycling. And there are cities that are still burning garbage, whatever you want to call it, turning it into energy. And with all the new technology out there nowadays, there's got to be a better way to keep burning that garbage into energy. And we can do it and hopefully do it in a clean environmental way. Thank you.
Gary, your question.
Landfills are a necessary evil. Sherburne County isn't any different than other counties. Everyone needs a place to put their waste. We just need to do it in an environmentally efficient way. We need to make sure that all the environmental steps are taken to ensure that the environment is protected. Most of these are in requirements of states such as the environmental review and the environmental impact statement. Sherburne County seems to have our share of landfills with the Monofill landfill at Becker, the Bonko 2 landfill also in Becker. Before expansion at Elk River landfill, we must ensure that all proper steps are completed. I can say that if adequate space is available, I would rather expand an existing landfill than develop a whole new one. I can also say for certain that none of us want landfills, but they are necessary of our way of life.
Thank you. Next question, and this will be our final question due to the time constraints that we have tonight. This final question is about elections. Some voters have questioned the integrity of election results and the use of electronic tabulators to help process election results on election night. For 1 minute, and in the interest of timely results and accuracy, how do you feel Sherburne County is doing in providing free and fair elections? So in light of all the questions surrounding election integrity, how do you feel Sherburne County is doing in providing free and fair elections? And this will start with District 2, and it's for Rayanne.
All right, thank you for that question. Fair and free elections are not only important to you, the voter, but the candidates as well. That is why I feel it is so important to protect the integrity of our election process and ensure that all Minnesota election laws are being followed. For example, we are allowed to select from only one of 3 types of election equipment, which has been certified by the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission and approved by the state of Minnesota. Minnesota laws only allow counties and cities limited discretion in administering those elections. We are very fortunate that Minnesota also still uses paper ballots, so we can always verify the accuracy of our election night tabulations. In Sherburne County, we have seen very secure and well-run elections, I feel, with our post-election audits verifying the accuracy and reliability of election night results. We have received a number of concerns, though, about our election equipment and procedures and have reviewed those. You can see these concerns and learn more about our findings on the county website. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, your question.
I also agree. Fair and free elections are the bedrock that our Constitution was founded on. And if the individuals don't feel it's fair and free, then there may be a problem. And we have to address that. For the situation in Sherburne County, with the low amount of population we have, I think we could save a whole lot of money just by counting them by hand. And we should probably just address it. If you have 2 full-time IT people just doing the background to make sure that it's safe and secure, you could easily count them by hand. Thanks.
And now we go to District 3. Greg.
Well, election integrity is a very big concern. This year I did volunteer as an election judge during the primary. You know, what I was able to observe of the process in Sherburne County is that we have a good process. A lot of people have concerns about the equipment that we're using, and we may be able to, after this election, take a good look at changing that. That could be something we could possibly improve. Another place we could possibly improve is talk to our state legislators about getting ID for voting. ID for voting would be a good idea. The county could actually help with being a contact point for distributing the IDs to the people. People who don't have IDs are cut out of a lot of parts of life, including some social service issues. One of the main things for election integrity is that people need to participate. Sign up to be an election judge, sign up to be a poll watcher. Even if you don't sign up for those things, you can still go to your local polling and watch the process as an observer as long as you don't interfere. The more eyes we have on the process, the less chance there is that somebody will interfere with it.
Thank you. Question is to Mark.
Yeah, I think it is also a very important issue. Obviously, I highlighted that at the beginning. I think it's important that we understand and have trust in our election system. If we can't trust our election system, why should we trust the people that are elected under that system? So that's why it's important. I think that we have to understand that there are some other pieces. So in most precincts, we use poll pads. Poll pads are basically an iPad that has a camera on it. Instead of requiring a photo ID, maybe we just simply take a picture of the person that's in front of us as they check in for registration. The other piece that really needs to be shored up is the absentee ballot system or early voting. Our system needs to have the integrity in it at the office when those ballots are being handed out. And we need to understand that the person that actually voted those ballots or mailed them in or dropped them off was the actual person. And so some additional verification, additional pieces that need to be done in that early voting system. Thank you.
District 4. Gary.
Election integrity should be at the forefront of every elected official. I've watched the process over 18 years as a township supervisor, and I have yet to see where our election process in Sherburne County has come into question. The county goes through a rigorous process to ensure that every vote is counted and correct. The county is using election equipment that is approved by the state and follows state guidelines for implementing checks and balances. The state of Minnesota uses paper ballots, which are retained for 22 months. To ensure that the integrity of these previous elections, all election equipment goes through extensive testing and software updates on a regular basis as it is tested before each election for viewing by the public. I have visited with the sheriff, and he says there's no evidence to suggest that there's any tampering with our elections. I have utmost confidence in our current system, but as efficiency and technology upgrades become available, we need to look at them closely to ensure that they're doing everything possible for our voters to feel safe and their voices being heard at the ballot box, and that there should be no doubt their vote is cast and counted correctly.
Lefty, your question.
Okay, voter integrity, it's a huge concern amongst our citizens. I believe in photo ID. I believe in hand counting ballots. The old school way years ago seemed to work fine. Why did we have to change? I don't know the answer to that. Are the machines all accurate? Are they secure? I don't know the answer to that either. One thing the citizens are concerned about is that their vote counts and that we have one vote for one person. And if there's anything that you want changed at the state level, I would suggest on November 8th, everybody please get out and vote. That's the best way to have your voice heard. Thank you.
District 1, Barb.
The issue of elections has been looked at very closely in Sherburne County, and we have found that we have met the level of accuracy that is required, and that there have been no identified issues in any place voting precincts in the county. So we've looked at it closely. We've had even just a workshop last meeting with our people from our computer area and how this process works. And there, it's been looked at so carefully so many times. I am very proud of the fact that we've done a good job and our votes are counted accurately in their state.
Andrew.
I think the challenge is that we're living in an age where half the country, depending on who wins the election, thinks the election was stolen. And if the other guy wins, then it's the other half that thinks it's stolen. We've got to get back to a place where everybody thinks the elections are fair and accurate, regardless of whether or not your candidate won or not. And I've talked to a number of the Secretary of State candidates, and there are some states that are moving back toward dumb tabulators, where they have no physical connection to the internet. But if you can't prove that, then you may have to move back to hand counting. The other thing is to get rid of the drop boxes. I don't see a need for voter drop boxes because an absentee ballot can be mailed from your mailbox. So an unsecured drop box to me seems like something it's just an unnecessary risk. Thank you.
Time for summation. And before I ask the question, we did have some technical difficulty at the very beginning, and so some of your introductory remarks may not be available for the replay that people can watch, so you may want to use a portion of your last minute here to restate your priorities or something else you said in the beginning. I apologize for that, but there's nothing we can really do about that now. So, you each have 1 minute. Why are you the best candidate for this office? For the last minute at this forum, is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself or your views that hasn't already been said? We're going to start in District 4 and Gary.
This evening, we have talked about some of the more pressing issues that voters want to hear about. We need to remember this is just a small snippet of the complexities of county government. Tax policy, elections, and energy production are all very important issues. I will give them my utmost attention and work with everyone to make sure that they are done in a manner fitting for not only the District 4, but all of Sherburne County. Let's also remember that I will treat all other issues that were addressed tonight with the same high standards that I set for myself. I will treat every resident the same and work to solve your concern or issue as if it were my own. I will work with and listen to all county employees, from someone who just started with the county to someone who's been with the county for 25 years. Listening is something I will do. Listening is knowledge. Knowledge is at the forefront of making good decisions. I look forward to becoming your next Sherburne County Commissioner of District 4. And I would like to thank John, our moderator, the Elk River and Big Lake and Chamber for putting on, and Becker Chamber for putting on a wonderful event and providing the Sherburne County voice in this election process. Thank you.
Thank you. Lefty, your summary.
Again, thank you all for coming. Appreciate the invite to come and speak and answer some of your questions. We are in a time where we have some serious issues that need to be addressed. And we need people that are going to take this job seriously. I'm here to work for you. By electing me, I will ensure that the only special interests for me are the citizens of Sherburne County. Thank you.
Down to District 1, Barb, your summary.
Well, I want to thank, I would like to thank my residents in District 1 for giving me the opportunity to serve them for these last 6 years. We have a wonderful group of people working at Sherburne County Government Center that serves all of us in a very wonderful manner. Working with them has been a blessing to me because I've seen so many people with so many good ideas wanting to do wonderful things for the people who live in our county. We've really worked hard at doing everything in a cost-effective manner, and I know that sometimes from the outside looking in, people don't always understand how important that has been to us and how we really work to do that, but that's been one of our primary goals. And also, we want to enhance the lives of people who live in our county so that they have, they're safe and they have health and they are able to work and do things that they enjoy in a way that's a blessing to them. So I want to just remind people that...
Thank you, Barb. Andrew, your summary. First off, I'd like to start out by thanking the Chamber for putting on this wonderful event. And I want to thank all of you for being here today, for listening to all of us talk endlessly. Since 2016, the current board has raised taxes nearly 30%. And that's 4 times the county growth rate. That's not sustainable. At the same time, they've increased county staffing 50% faster than the county growth rate. That's also not sustainable. At the same time, they raise their own pay 43%. That's unconscionable. We need a county, we've got a number of issues, very complex issues that are facing the county right now. We need a board in place that can tackle these issues strategically so we can lower the per household tax rate, or per household taxes paid, just not the tax rate. Get the infrastructure in place, including strategic power, so we can be competitive with surrounding counties so that we can drive economic development, and that's what I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
District 2, Rayanne.
In summary, I would like to continue serving as your county commissioner and work towards the issues of importance to Sherburne County residents by continuing to support public safety and our law enforcement needs, continuing to support our court system and holding the offenders accountable to their actions, continue to work on improving our transportation needs, continue to improve broadband access and affordability, continue to serve and support our veterans and their families, continue to support our senior citizens and their families in need, continuing county policy development and strategic planning, continuing to encourage and support economic growth and job creation, and continue to work towards excellence in all county departments with an eye for fiscal responsibility, and continue to improve transparency and public engagement. I would like to continue to serve those and appreciate your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Go to District 3, Greg.
Again, thank you all for coming, and thank you to the Sherburne County Right Cable Commission for taping these proceedings. I believe I'm the best candidate because of my work ethic and my availability. I've always been a person who's willing to take on the hard jobs and follow through until the work is done. Since I filed, I've been out meeting the public virtually every day. I attend commissioner meetings and workshops. I attended the meeting with Xcel Energy about their plans for Sherco, and I attended the Save Our Sherco plant rally. I've attended more meetings. I'll keep doing this between now and the election. I've devoted time to researching the issues that affect Sherburne County citizens. I have been involved in the Sherburne County Second Amendment sanctuary movement since it started. I am, in fact, an admin on that page. I'm told that by current commissioners, it is a 30, 40-hour-a-week job to be a commissioner, and I'm ready to be able to meet that demand. I hope to get your vote on November 8th, and if you missed any part of my opening speech, just go to voteforfelber.com, send us a message, and I'll make sure you have that information. Thank you.
And Mark. Whoops, did I miss? I missed Paul. That's what you're trying to point out. I apologize.
That's all right. I thought you'd put me last, best for last. I'm thanking you for all inviting us here. And I apologize for being late, but my copy here that I have printed out says 6:15. I missed some other part of it. So I ran really quick without my notes, and they're sitting down there. But I'm kind of glad I got to speak off my heart. I'm not a conventional candidate. I would be elected by you, and I would represent you. I don't represent anybody but you. You are who I would represent. I would stand in the way for people taking stuff away from you, like taxes and property rights, and I'd fight to the end. And thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and I apologize. That's my fault entirely, but you got extra attention this way, so. And to wrap up, now I have to make sure I get the final thing right here. Mark, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Thank you to the three chambers that sponsored this event, and continue to look forward to interfacing with people. If you have any questions, you can always contact me through my Facebook page, and feel free to reach out to me on my cell. My cell and contact information is actually still on the Becker School website, so you can contact me through that. I am a Second Amendment supporter. I was a weapons officer on board the ship that I was deployed on the second deployment, and believe in that ability to carry arms. I know we need to have our energy stability. The Sherco plant needs to be extended before it gets shut down. Election integrity is important, and we have to have the trust in the election to have the trust in the people that get elected under that system. I'm here to represent you. I listen to all sides and make good decisions. I appreciate your support here in the election in November. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Let's have a nice round of applause for everybody on the stage. On behalf of the three chambers, I'd like to thank you for being a wonderful and extremely polite audience. Thank you to our candidates. And we have two candidates on the stage. We have the incumbent, Diane Arnold, and we have the challenger, Chad Westberg. So for question number 1, please introduce yourself and tell us your top priorities and why you are running for this office. You have 2 minutes for your introduction and to state your priorities, and we're going to start with Chad.
All right, thank you for having me here at the chamber and our moderator. I think this is a great opportunity to kind of discuss a position that not many people know too much about. My name is Chad Westberg. I'm running for the Auditor's office. A little bit closer. Can you hear me now? Oh, there we go. I'm used to being on the football field. I'll usually just yell to a bunch of kids, so they usually can hear me pretty well. My name is Chad Westberg. I'm running for the County Auditor's office. My family comes from Sweden. We came here to Minnesota in the early 1870s, so we've been around for quite some time. Our homestead is in Orick Township, and we've been in Sherburne County for quite some time. I'm a private business owner. I own Eura Farms. We do experimental agriculture, and we also do cash crops as well. I currently am in my 12th season coaching Elk River football. We have a very good program. We're very successful, and we're continuing to do that this year, so I'm pretty excited about it. In the public sector, I worked for 6 years in the Planning Commission in Elk River, where we dealt a lot with the first expansion of the landfill. I was kind of wanting that question earlier. And I've also worked in the Minnesota State Senate in the support staff aspect in the Ventura administration. The reason I am running is I would like to restore faith and credibility into our election system. All right, our elections are the most fundamental part of our republic. And if they're not trusted, then we have a lot of bigger issues. We can't trust who's been elected. I think the perception of possible fraud is real. I'm not saying that election fraud has happened in the county, but the perception, and we'll go through it today, of that is very, very real. I also believe that government is a service industry, and it must treat people with respect. I think sometimes when we come into with concerns or questions, or especially with different types of election judges trying to apply to become an election judge, which is...
Thank you, Chad. I've got to call you for time. Same question, Diane, your introduction.
Hi, thank you. I'm Diane Arnold, the current Auditor Treasurer. First of all, I'd like to thank the voters for the continued support in the past elections. I look forward to serving the citizens of Sherburne County in the future. In my tenure, I have moved the bond rating from AA to AA+, which has helped the county to obtain a better interest rate in the last bond that was issued by the county for expansion of the government center in 2016. I would like to move it to a AAA from the Standard & Poor's, which is a bond rating agency, thus obtaining even a better interest rate and saving the taxpayers additional money when applying for the bonds in the future. Only a few counties in the state are AAA rated, and we are striving to be one of them. I also recommended to our county board to pay off the regional rail debt with Anoka County, saving Sherburne County $461,838 in 2022 over the remaining life of the bond. To continue to ensure county funds are being invested to maximize safe investment earnings in conformance with federal, state, and other legal requirements according to Minnesota state statutes. If voter ID is approved in the state of Minnesota, I would like to simplify voting procedures for the handicapped and senior voters by issuing them a free voter ID card if they cannot afford or don't already have one. To have yearly tax forfeited land sales, to return properties to the tax rolls, to assist in increasing the taxable market value, which in turn would lower the overall tax rate for the citizens of the county. This is the first year in my 32 years with the county that we did not have one parcel tax forfeit in 2022. We were able to provide direction and help to a couple of homeowners to get assistance, so they did not tax forfeit and lose their homes. For that, I am thankful. I am running again for the position of Auditor Treasurer because I love my job. I enjoy helping people understand the many different processes that we do at the county, and I will strive to deliver greater transparency and efficiencies for the people that I serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Second question is regarding public finance. For 1 minute, what experience do you have with public finance or related experience on a large scale that would assist you in serving as Auditor Treasurer? We'll go back to Diane.
Thank you. So during my 32 years of working for Sherburne County Auditor Treasurer's Office, I have held the following positions: Clerk Tech 1 for 1 year, a Tech Clerk 2 for 4 years, an Office Assistant 2 for 1 year, an Accounting Support Assistant for 3.5 years, in which one of my duties was to collect the delinquent personal property tax or mobile home taxes with the use of revenue recapture. Accounting Specialist and Payroll for 2.5 years, in which I implemented a new payroll system. The Fiscal Analyst for the Auditor Treasurer for 4 years, in which I implemented GASB 34 standards in auditing and completed the financial audit report yearly for all the departments in the county and assisted with the county budget process. And being the county auditor treasurer for the past 16 years. Along with that, I've completed administrative and supervisory management courses at Century College and received ongoing training and continuing professional education credits in accounting and auditing field with additional credits earned yearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Chad, same question.
Sure. I'm the CEO of Europe Farms. Like I said earlier, I personally have to deal with accounting, keeping the books. I have to deal with project management, product management, customer relations. I'm also a mechanic and I sweep out the place. Also, I served on the board of directors of an ethanol startup. There we oversaw a very large budget. We had to deal with government relations. We had to deal with the MPCA. Construction, project development, and we're talking about a project of over $120 million, which is currently larger than our current county summary budget. So I definitely have the experience to do this job. Thanks.
Thank you. Question number 3, and this regards elections. Some citizens have questioned the integrity of election results and the use of the county's Dominion electronic tabulators to help process election results on election night. For 2 minutes, in the interest of timely results, what do you see as the role of the county auditor treasurer in administering free and fair elections in Sherburne County and its current procedures? Chad, you have the first crack at it.
I think this is one of the main reasons a lot of us come out here tonight. I think it's one of the main reasons that a lot of the county commissioners talked about this. I fully believe that we should count the ballots. I think that we need eyes on every ballot, and this is very easily done. Right now, we have different points of possible questionable, I don't want to use the term fraud, but I just did. We need to reduce those points. Right now, we use a machine that uses an image cast system. It takes pictures of our ballots and it determines that count based on how we filled in those circles. What if we filled it in halfway? What if we didn't use the right pen, or we didn't use the pen that went into the voting booth with us? That's a point of possible, use a better term than fraud. Also, when we deal with these machines, they can sometimes be connected to the internet, and they have to be connected to the internet to transmit data to the Secretary of State. What passwords are used? What VPN is used? Are those passwords the same passwords that come from the manufacturer, which is easily guessed? That is all adding to the perception of possible election, of non-election integrity. We need to reduce all these points of possible fraud. We need to improve communication with election judges. If you're an election judge, you should, when you apply, you should get a response right away that your application was received. And you should also be notified in plenty amount of time that you are selected or you're not selected. And you have to know that early in response, early in the fact, so that you can respond accordingly, have the time to do the job. And the perception of the possible fraud is real. People see it. I see it all over the county when I go talking with people. So we need to stop, we need to fix that.
And that's time. Thank you. Next question is regarding nonpartisanship.
No, she gets,
Oh, I'm sorry.
She gets the reply, yeah.
Gee, you'd think with two candidates I could get it straight, but Diane, very sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. I firmly believe that the elections held within Sherburne County are conducted within the guidelines of the Minnesota statutes and the rules that are conducted with the utmost integrity and security that is available to us. The election equipment certified in Minnesota and used in Sherburne County was chosen by the majority of our city and township election clerks and election judges in 2015. This was approved by our county board and implemented in 2016. I want to stress that our tabulators do not connect to the internet. The results are transmitted through cellular secured lines, which numbers are changed every year, election year. Minnesota is fortunate that we have paper ballots, and we conduct audits with public accuracy testing on all of our tabulators before the election, and again after the elections with the post-election review of 3 to 4 randomly selected precincts to administratively hand count the top 3 races. The results of the recount and what was reported on election day is within the accepted margin of error for the post-election review. These audit tests are conducted by election judges of different political parties to maintain party balance. Administrative recounts have been demonstrated multiple times throughout my tenure after each general election, along with numerous requested recounts for the difference between the votes cast within the margins of the statute. For discretionary recounts, a losing candidate whose name was on the ballot can request a manual recount at the losing candidate's expense when the vote difference is greater than the percent of the numbers of votes cast, according to statute. The results of these recounts are reported to the Secretary of State's Election Department and provides the public proof that our tabulators have accurately counted the votes that have been cast by our voters in Sherburne County elections. For the 2022 general election, I plan on being able to produce a cast vote records report that was not available to use until this past spring. It's a report that shows how each ballot cast was counted for, each race that was voted by the voter. These reports do not identify any voter since they are scrambled. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And again, I apologize for missing your cue. Question 4. The elected position of Auditor Treasurer is nonpartisan. In today's highly polarized and partisan environment, and for the next minute, how do you envision remaining nonpartisan and serving all Sherburne County residents fairly and without prejudice to political party or affiliation? And we go back to Diane.
Thank you. The position of the Auditor Treasurer in Sherburne County is a nonpartisan position. I work for all the people within Sherburne County. I put my own political opinions aside when it comes to conducting elections within Sherburne County and in the treatment of our residents. I am here to serve the people, to assure that we have safe, secure, and correctly counted votes in our elections. That is my mission, and that will continue to be my mission.
Chad, same question.
Thank you. The only way to restore trust into these elections is if it is nonpartisan. I have support from people on the far left, I have support from the people on the far right, and I have support with people right down the middle. It is vital that it is nonpartisan, and I fully agree with that. So, and I think that all people, no matter their party, need to be treated with respect. Thank you.
Thank you. The auditor treasurer supervises several different individuals and positions. For the next minute, please share your experience in supervising staff. Chad?
Absolutely. First of all, the staff at the auditor's office, I think, is great. They've treated me with nothing but respect, and I truly appreciate that. And I think they're doing very well, and they're a professional group, and I appreciate that as well. As far as managing people, I usually have contract people that work for me when I'm in different farming aspects. You have to manage that to make sure that they're there on time and then they stay on task. We have to make sure that they do a quality job. Also, I'm also a football coach at Elk River High School. We deal with 60, 70 kids a year that come through, and that's all the way since 2011. If you can't manage people to get everyone on the same page to reach a common goal, that is very difficult, a key role of coaching football. So, thank you.
Diane, your question.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. In my department, we've got 19 people that work in our department in an aspect of many different functions that we conduct for the county. We have to be diligent in our job, diligent in what we do, and trustworthy and honest and dependable. We have to be dependable. We have to be able to put personal feelings and stuff aside, and we have to be able to work for the county and for the people of the county. We have great people that work for us, and I appreciate every one of them. They do an awesome job for Sherburne County, and they are very dedicated in the job that they do. I feel like our management is coached by upper management, and with additional training and stuff, that we have done a great job, and we'll continue to do a good job for Sherburne County.
Thank you. Property tax levies are confusing, and often home or commercial property value increases are portrayed by elected and non-elected staff as the reason for higher taxes. For the next minute, do you have any ideas how to portray increased taxes could also come from increasing budgets as well as decreased state or federal funds? And Diane, you're first.
Thank you. So in calculating the taxes, there is different rates and stuff that is set by the Department of Revenue for commercial properties versus homestead properties. Calculating the taxes, you have to take into consideration the school boards, the city or township calculation, and the county's calculation, and any other special taxing districts that come along. So you've got to multiply all of that together by their tax rates to come up with the taxes that you have. The county assessor sets the market value of the properties that we calculate the taxes by. So that is, we set the rates calculated by the levies that are out there for each of the taxing districts, and that's what we come up with the total taxes. We are putting on our website is going to be a tax calculator that will help residents understand how the taxes are calculated and where they all go. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Chad, your question.
Yeah, that's the general nuts and bolts of how this stuff is calculated, and she's obviously been in the position for a long time, so that was a very well explained. Also, but I think when we put this data on the websites, it needs to be searchable. We need to know exactly what part of our dollars are going to exactly what programs. Right here I have a county summary of the budget. I go off of this quite a bit, and currently it's $115 million, $156,845. Right, that's up over 10% from last year. Now, general government, we need to dissect that. Public safety, we need to dissect. That's at 23 million. General government, 22. Highway and street funds at 28 million. And keep in mind, if Sherco does not continue, that's going to be a big hit. And we need to find out ways to put this information forward so the commissioners can make the best decisions, that the citizens can make the best decisions for their budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. The auditor treasurer needs to collaborate with various departments as well as city and township clerks and other officials. For the next minute, please share your best example of collaboration. Chad, the question is to you.
I think that this all comes down to elections for me. I think that there needs to be autonomy within the townships underneath the guidance of the auditor's office. Right now, in a few precincts in this past primary election, there was votes cast with negative numbers. And you can look at it right on the receipts that was given on the tabulator. That's an impossibility to me. That's a problem. That's a red flag. I'm assuming that it's some sort of technical issue that's not been addressed, but that needs to be addressed. How do we know that negative numbers aren't involved in legitimate candidates who are running for office? They depend on those numbers. They need those numbers. And there's plenty of examples where if you need major party status, and I give the example of the Independence Party back when Ventura won and Barkley was named a U.S. Senator. These are major offices that require a certain threshold to get to major party status to get on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's your last question.
I think you get to
Oh, I'm
respond.
sorry. I did it to you again.
Sorry, yeah.
Diane, I'm sorry. Your question.
Okay, thank you. So we do collaborate a lot with the townships and the cities. We provide them with tax rates, with levy status reports, with, there's multiple information and stuff that we provide to them. We double check, making sure that they are levying for the bonds that they have elected and they put together. We have a bond report that we have to, called an outstanding indebtedness report that we have to send to the Secretary of, or the state auditors, and that has to be balanced up every year. We do multiple times with different functions within our office. We contact the election staff in the townships and cities, and we provide them with guidance and documentation and support. Thank you.
Thank you. And for your last question, we budgeted a minute, but I'm going to give you each 2, and we can still make our time frame. Going off script here. It's a generic, why are you the best candidate for this office? For your last 2 minutes of this forum, is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself or your views that hasn't already been said? And Diane, I am not going to forget you this time. I'm going to call you first.
Thank you. I'm the best candidate for this job because, quite frankly, I'm the most qualified person. I totally understand the many duties of the Auditor Treasurer's office. I have been the Auditor Treasurer for the past 16 years. In 2014, I was awarded the Auditor of the Year in the state of Minnesota, voted on by my peers. And if re-elected, my mission to the residents of Sherburne County will be to execute the duties of the Auditor Treasurer's office directed by state statute and assigned by the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners in an efficient manner to provide optimum service to our customers, to maintain a current knowledge of the laws and regulations relating to the Auditor Treasurer's responsibilities, and to meet those obligations with integrity. In concluding, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to serve you better, and I'm available to answer your questions. You're always able to contact me personally if you have a problem. Thank you.
Chad, your summary.
All right, thank you. Thank you to the chamber, and thank you to you for putting on this forum. I think it's very informative, and I think it's kind of fun. I wish we had about 10 more minutes or so. I believe that I'm the best candidate because I bring a unique combination of both public and private experience to the job. I also, in the private industry, the customers are always number one. In government, the citizens are the customers. They're always deserve to be treated with a lot of respect, and to make sure that their needs and concerns are heard, and make sure that they believe that their needs and concerns are heard. I will bring a fresh new perspective. I have not been auditor for 16 years, but I will bring a fresh new perspective to the department that I think is sorely needed. I will also ensure to regain faith in our elections. Right now, we have all the ballots. We have them. Why not count them? Why only count 3%? We have all the information. Why not? This is something that we could do during the precincts, during the day. We could have a bipartisan canvassing board with a designated counter. There's no reason why we don't count the ballots. physically, with the actual physical ballot. I want to thank you all for coming out today, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's have a good round of applause for our two candidates, Diane and Chad.